Since managing the communication and ensuring to manage the stakeholder engagement are, um, um, say, having a relation and engaging the stakeholder and communicating with the stakeholder, I decided to cover managing the stakeholder engagement as part of the next session that we are going to cover, part of the execution process group. So, welcome to this session on managing the stakeholder engagement. We say that effective stakeholder engagement is crucial in project execution because it ensures the alignment and it reduces the conflicts and foster the collaboration. A well-engaged stakeholders is more likely to support the project, contribute resources, and help overcome the challenges. However, poor engagement can lead to resistance, delays, and increased risks. In this session, we'll discuss how to actively involve stakeholders, manage the resistance, and use best practices for engagement to enhance the project success. Key ITTOs here are well known to us now: the inputs, tools, and techniques. We have the expert judgment, the communication skills, feedback, the ground rules that you have to ensure establishing when you start the project and start implementing the project, meetings, and the output would be here the change request to align your communication, let's say preferences, for example, or your project management plan updates to incorporate any changes that you need to consider as part of your project management plan. And to start with, understanding the importance of stakeholder engagement on the execution phase. Stakeholders play a crucial role in project success. Their support, feedback, and resources can determine whether a project progresses smoothly or encounters roadblocks. So again, the importance or the key importance here, we say that the stakeholders influence the project success through their decisions, resources, and support. So ensure having, let's say, well engagement that fosters the trust, alignment, and buy-in. Consider also early and continuous involvement to prevent any issues and resistance. And let's take an example here. In a software development project, involving the end users early ensures that the features align with the actual needs, reducing the costly rework as well. However, if the stakeholders are not engaged, they might resist to the final product, leading to low adoption rates. And this is an example, a real world example on the importance of keeping the stakeholder engagement when executing or implementing the project. Identifying and understanding the stakeholder needs. So I know that this might happen on the planning phase, but now again, you need to ensure, and as we mentioned, that how the execution phase is integrated with planning phase, we already have identify and understand the stakeholder needs. But as you know, that sometimes the stakeholders might have, let's say, new priorities that it has to be considered. So consider yourself communicating and engaging with the stakeholders to reassess these, let's say, stakeholder needs to ensure that it's aligned with their values or whatever, let's say, goals they're trying to achieve. Different stakeholders have different level of influence and interest and expectations. Using the stakeholder analysis tools like the power interest grid, which we have explained during the planning phase, it helps the project managers to prioritize the engagement efforts. Uh, Again, so ensures that you ensures that you are using the different engagement strategies, and let's say think of customizing it for each group to meet their needs. And here are the some of the techniques for active stakeholder involvement, how to keep your stakeholder engaged. So engaging the stakeholder requires a proactive involvement through meetings, collaboration tools, and feedback loops. Think of having a regular meeting with the stakeholders, also having workshops and status reports. Keep your stakeholders active and engaged throughout project lifecycle. You may also use collaboration platforms for ongoing updates or push and communication, push or pull communication, let's say, techniques to keep your stakeholders updated. You may also use this co-creation sessions for decision making. So all of these tools are used to ensure that your stakeholders are engaged effectively and continuously. And to take an example here, when we are developing, let's say, an urban um, um, project, so involving the community leaders in public forums and workshops can address their concerns early and ensure a smoother execution. Next, let's talk about managing the resistance to change when dealing with and engaging with the stakeholders. So resistance is a natural in projects, especially when changes impact the processes or roles or workflows. The best approach is to address the concerns proactively and to provide clarity on the benefits. To manage these resistance to change effectively when dealing with the stakeholders, first starts with identifying the reasons for the resistance, such as the fear of change or lack of information or misalignment with the project goals. Then you need to have or use a transparent communication and active listening to the stakeholders to ensure that all of their concerns are resolved on timely manner. Also involve stakeholders in decision making to increase the ownership. For example, when dealing with resistance to change, as let's say in an ARP software implementation, employees may resist due to the job security fears, thinking that they will be, for example, replaced by the ARP. And by involving them in training programs and decision making, the organizations can ease the adoption and minimize the resistance. Aligning the stakeholder expectation with the project objectives. So, misaligned expectation can cause conflicts, delays, and um, dissatisfaction. The best way to manage this through transparent updates and two-way communication. Ensure that you do regular updates to prevent the misalignment with your stakeholders and to ensure the alignment with the project goals and objectives. Think of involving the stakeholders to obtain their feedback and to implement their feedback on the execution plans. So you don't just collect their feedback and do nothing about it. Ensures that you sure that you apply their feedback or concerns to the project execution plans. The last point here we have is expectation setting meetings to ensure the clarity. So when you align the stakeholder expectation with the project objectives, ensure that you set a realistic and measurable, let's say, objectives, and ensure that your stakeholders are well aligned with these expectations. So sometimes these stakeholders might expect things that it cannot be done through the project itself, and you may need to negotiate and discuss the trade-offs to ensure their alignment and their expectation is realistic in compared to the project goals and objectives. For example, let's say that in a marketing campaign, a client may expect an immediate ROI or return of investment, but the campaign result take months. So it's your let's say responsibility to ensure as a project manager, it's your responsibility to ensure that the stakeholders have, let's say, a realistic expectation on when the ROI will be achieved. Aligning the expectation upfront with clear KPIs helps preventing the dissatisfaction later. And these are the stakeholder communication strategies, which also we have covered in the previous session when we talked about how to manage stakeholder communication. We say that different stakeholders need different communication styles, understand their needs based on their, for example, technical, non technical, the level of engagement with these stakeholders. For example, some of these stakeholders might be from the management side, some of them they might be a technical, non-technical. So you need to tailor these communication strategies to meet their needs and to to satisfy their communication styles. Also use the right mix of formal and informal communication based on the requirements or the communication requirements. Some of the stakeholders might need a meeting to to communicate. Some of them might need an email. Some of them may need say a presentation. So it depends on the type of the stakeholder. Ensure that you fulfill these requirements. Ensure communication frequently to align with the stakeholder needs. So sometimes the stakeholders may have an evolving requirements that it need to be discussed. So ensure that you have continuous communication with regular frequency to keep aligning your stakeholder with the project objectives. Here are the tools that is used when engaging with the stakeholders. So technology facilitate better stakeholder engagement. Tools like Jira and Microsoft Teams help keeping the stakeholder informed and involved. And using these tools, it enhances, let's say, the visibility and it makes the decision making more faster and more collaborative. You may also use the stakeholder surveys to gather the insights and feedback to collect the feedback on the let's say on whatever project concern that the stakeholder might have. Also ensures and ensure the regular stakeholder feedback loops to ensure the process and to ensure the process improvement and achieving the project outcomes. For example, in software projects like Jira dashboards allow clients to track their progress in real time. That will reduce your, let's say, effort to communicate sometimes. You don't have to communicate all of the status update. Stakeholders will have an access to the dashboard. You can see what have been done, what are, let's say, the upcoming, for example, when you are handling agile project, you can see the upcoming sprints, they can see the features that is going to be implemented and on the future on the future sprints. You can see let's say the achievements of the team. They can see the cycle time or the lead time, which we're gonna discuss on the agile section. So using these dashboards and these tools, it allows the clients to track the progress in real time without putting dependency on the project manager to share with them the updates. And that will cause or improve the transparency and trust. How to measure the stakeholder engagement success? So, stakeholder engagement must be measured and improved over the time. Metrics like the feedback or response rate, also the participation in meetings and issue resolution speed indicate the success. So ensure that you set these engagement KPIs and also identify the, let's say, the stakeholders who are discouraged to participate and try to re-engage them. Continuous improvement throughout the lessons learned that it has been, let's say, implemented in the previous projects, and you can use them to improve, let's say, the engagement between different stakeholders. And to summarize our session on managing the stakeholder engagement, we say that stakeholder engagement is continuous effort that requires a proactive involvement, expectation management, and communication strategies. By using the right tools and techniques, project managers can build a strong, let's say, stakeholder relationships and ensure a successful execution. We also talked on how to manage the resistance between different stakeholders, which require continuous communication and involvement. We also covered the importance of aligning the stakeholder expectation with the project goals, ensuring that the stakeholders have a realistic expectation to avoid any conflicts in later, let's say, phases of the project.